What's up, Eagles Nation? If you're an Eagles fan, buckle up, because what's coming might shake your expectations for this draft week. While most people are focused on who Philadelphia will add to its already stacked roster, there's another storyline gaining traction, and this one involves a potential departure, not an arrival. The name at the center of the conversation? Dallas Goedert. Yeah, you heard it right. The same Dallas Goedert who's been a steady force in the Eagles offense for years, the guy who's hauled in tough catches, blocked like a beast, and earned the trust of every quarterback he's played with. That Dallas Goedert might be packing his bags, depending on how the next few days unfold. Now, let's lay the groundwork here. The NFL draft is just around the corner, kicking off Thursday night in Green Bay. And while it's usually a time for optimism, team building, and future planning, the Eagles are reportedly exploring a major shift that could send shockwaves through their locker room. Goedert is entering the final year of a 4-year contract worth $57 million. And it looks like Philadelphia might not be willing to carry that price tag much longer. With so much young talent on the rise and a front office that's always a step ahead when it comes to roster management, it's starting to make sense why his name keeps popping up in trade rumors. And let's be honest, Goedert is no average tight end. He's not just a big body who runs routes. He's a mismatch nightmare for defenders, too fast for linebackers, too strong for corners, and too experienced to be left alone in coverage. Whether it's in the red zone or across the middle on a critical third down, he's been a go-to guy for Jalen Hurts and a vital part of the offensive scheme. But with 1 year left on his deal and a hefty salary cap number attached to it, the Eagles are at a crossroads. Do they keep him for one more run, knowing they might lose him for nothing next year? Or do they flip him now and turn that value into draft picks, cap relief, and maybe even a younger replacement? That's the million-dollar question. And here's where things get spicy. According to reports that surfaced just a day before the draft, there are teams watching this situation very closely, especially the Indianapolis Colts. Word is, if the Colts don't get one of the top tight ends in the early rounds, they could make a move for a proven veteran, someone exactly like Goedert. And let's not forget, the Colts have been on the hunt for a reliable pass-catching tight end to help out their young quarterback. Goedert could walk into that locker room and instantly become a top 3 target. It's the kind of move that makes sense for both sides, especially if the compensation is right. But the Colts aren't the only ones circling. There's also been some quiet buzz about the Baltimore Ravens, who are always in the mix when it comes to big physical tight ends. Now, they already have Mark Andrews, no doubt about it, but if things shift during the draft and they see an opportunity to add another weapon, or even if Andrews gets moved instead, Baltimore could be in the picture. That's the thing with the draft. It changes everything. One pick here, one trade there, and suddenly teams that weren't even part of the conversation are picking up the phone. And this is where the real drama starts to build. Because once the first round begins, we're going to start seeing which teams missed out on their draft targets. Maybe a run on tight ends happens early. Maybe some teams get nervous. Maybe the Eagles field an offer they can't refuse. That's why this weekend isn't just about who's coming into the building. It's also about who might be walking out. And the truth is, Goedert has become a trade piece with real value. He's still in his prime, he's proven at the highest level, and he's got just enough time left on his deal to appeal to a contending team looking for a short-term spark without committing long-term money. If we're being real, the Eagles have always operated like a team that's thinking big picture. They're not afraid to move on from popular players if it means setting up long-term success. We saw it with Zach Ertz. We saw it with Carson Wentz. And now we might be seeing it again with Dallas Goedert. It's not personal, it's business. And in a league where every dollar and every roster spot counts, these kinds of moves can define an entire season. Let's not forget either that Philadelphia has some young tight ends waiting in the wings. They've been developing talent behind the scenes, and maybe the front office feels like they're ready to take that next step. If that's the case, moving Goedert not only opens up opportunities for those players, but also gives the Eagles more ammo for this draft, or even for trades down the line. Flexibility has always been a strength of this franchise, and this could be another case where they use it to their advantage. Of course, all of this hinges on what happens over the next 72 hours. If the right trade doesn't materialize, maybe Goedert stays. Maybe the Eagles push for one more deep playoff run with all their pieces intact. But the mere fact that his name keeps surfacing this close to the draft tells you everything you need to know. Something is definitely cooking, and where there's smoke, there's usually fire. So what should fans expect? Honestly, anything. Because when it comes to draft weekend, nothing is off the table. One moment you're celebrating a new first round pick, and the next you're hearing that a fan favorite is headed out of town. It's the emotional roller coaster that makes the NFL offseason so addicting and so unpredictable. The key is to keep your eyes on the moves happening behind the scenes, the ones that don't make the headlines right away. That's where the real action is. And right now, all signs are pointing to Dallas Goedert as one of the names to watch closest. Whether he stays or goes, his situation could have ripple effects, not just for the Eagles, but for the entire tight end market. Once that first domino falls, you can bet other teams are going to start making calls. So don't blink, Eagles fans. This is shaping up to be one wild ride. Now, if Dallas Goedert does end up being traded, the impact won't just be felt on the stat sheet. It's going to send ripples through the entire identity of this Eagles offense. We're not talking about losing a rotational player or someone who only sees limited snaps. We're talking about a starter, a locker room presence, and a guy who's been through the highs and lows with this team. A trade like this changes the rhythm, changes the play calling, and it definitely changes the chemistry between quarterback and receiver. And let's be real, for a quarterback like Jalen Hurts, who thrives on timing and trust, losing someone like Goedert means readjusting, relearning, and rebuilding with someone new. Think about it. This is not just a case of replacing one tight end with another. Goedert's skill set is unique, and he's not just a big body who can catch short yardage. Passes! He's got route running polish, reliable hands, and the ability to block at a high level. That versatility is what made him so valuable. He could be used in traditional sets, flexed out wide, or even lined up in the backfield to create mismatches. There aren't many tight ends in the league who can do all that consistently. And if he leaves, the Eagles will have to fill more than one role. Not just a pass catcher, but a run blocker and a red zone threat too. That's why, if the front office is serious about making this move, you better believe they have a plan. This isn't a panic decision. It's calculated. And it probably means they've already got their eye on either a draft prospect or a free agent who fits the system. Because the one thing Howie Roseman and this organization have proven time and time again is that they don't just move on. They reload. If they're taking this risk, it's because they think the reward is worth it. Maybe it's a younger, cheaper tight end with upside. Maybe it's a creative trade that nets them a couple of picks and a roster piece in return. Whatever the case, there's a long game in play here. Now, let's talk about the emotional side of this. Fans are invested in players like Goedert. They've watched him grow, fight through injuries, make clutch plays, and bleed green on Sundays. Seeing a guy like that potentially walk out the door hits different. It reminds you that as much as we love the game, at its core, the NFL is a business. And in this business, tough decisions get made. You don't always get to keep the guys you love. Sometimes you have to make room for the next wave. But it's not just fans feeling the weight of a potential move. Players do too. There's a brotherhood in that locker room. And when someone gets traded, it sends a message. Sometimes it motivates, sometimes it disrupts. That's why timing is so important. Doing this around the draft, when emotions are already running high, can either unify a team or create a sense of uncertainty. The Eagles will have to manage that dynamic carefully, especially with such a competitive NFC race ahead of them. And if the trade goes down during the draft, the spotlight on the Eagles' picks becomes even brighter. Every move will be analyzed through the lens of, is this the guy who's supposed to replace Dallas Goedert? That's a tough position for any rookie to walk into. They're not just being asked to perform, they're inheriting expectations, comparisons, and pressure from day one. But that's also what makes Philadelphia such a special place to play. The passion, the accountability, the history. It turns players into legends or exposes them if they're not ready. Speaking of readiness, the Eagles coaching staff is going to have its hands full if this trade happens. Adjustments will need to be made not just to the personnel, but to the overall game plan. Without Goedert, how do they manage third downs? How do they shift formations in the red zone? Who becomes the safety valve for Hurts when the pocket collapses? It's not just a plug-and-play situation. It requires schematic tweaks or maybe even some changes in how they call plays. You can bet offensive coordinator Kellen Moore is already drawing up contingencies. There's also the question of leadership. Goedert isn't the loudest voice in the room, but he's respected. He leads by example. He's a guy young players look up to, not just for what he does on the field, but for how he carries himself off it. Taking that out of the mix means someone else has to step up. That's an opportunity, sure, but it also comes with risks. Leadership can't be forced. It has to emerge naturally, and transitions like that can be tricky in the middle of a season. And then there's the future to consider. If the Eagles do trade Goedert for draft picks, those assets could be used in a million different ways. They could move up, move down, package them for another player. It's all on the table. And with Roseman calling the shots, you know nothing is off limits. He's one of the most aggressive GMs in the game when it comes to shaping the roster. And he's not afraid to make bold moves if he believes it puts the team in a better position. But the question that lingers is this: does trading Goedert make the Eagles better right now? That's the part that's hard to answer. On paper, they might save money and add flexibility. But in terms of on-field production and chemistry, that's a big hole to fill. It really depends on what they get in return and how quickly whoever comes in can contribute. Because let's not forget, the goal here isn't just to rebuild. This team is in win-now mode. They're not tearing it down. They're trying to reload and go deep into the playoffs. Every move they make has to reflect that urgency. And for Goedert himself, this could be the start of a whole new chapter. A new city, a new system, a new quarterback. He's got the talent to thrive wherever he goes. No doubt about that. But change is never easy, even for veterans. It takes time to build rapport, learn a new playbook, adjust to a different coaching style. Still, sometimes that change ends up being the spark a player needs to hit the next level. And if this is the end of his time in Philly, you can bet he'll want to prove he was worth every dollar and every catch. So as we head into this draft weekend, keep your eyes wide open. Because while everyone's focused on the names being called, from the stage, the real drama might be unfolding in the war rooms, on the phones, and in the trade wires. The Eagles are playing chess, not checkers. And Dallas Goedert might just be the biggest piece on the board right now. Whether he stays or goes, this is a story that could shape the season and maybe even the future of the franchise. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest updates on our Philadelphia Eagles. And don't be shy, share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. The Philadelphia Eagles have stunned the NFL world with what is already being called the biggest signing in franchise history. Tyreek Hill, widely recognized as one of the most explosive and dynamic wide receivers the game has ever seen, is now set to wear midnight green. This monumental move instantly shifts the power dynamic in the NFC and sends a clear message. The Eagles are all in. Hill's arrival in Philadelphia is more than just a roster upgrade. It's a transformational moment for the team and the city. With his unmatched speed, elite route running, and game-breaking ability, Hill brings a new dimension to the Eagles' offense. Paired with quarterback Jalen Hurts, the possibilities are endless. Defenses will now be forced to account for Hill on every snap, opening up opportunities across the field for other offensive weapons. For a franchise with a proud history and a passionate fan base, this move is not only bold, it's historic. Never before have the Eagles made such a high-profile acquisition, and it signals their intent to dominate the NFC landscape. Hill's track record speaks for itself. A Super Bowl champion, multiple Pro Bowl appearances, and highlight reel plays that defy belief. His presence in Philadelphia elevates the team into immediate Super Bowl contention. The move didn't come cheap, and it won't be without pressure. But the message is clear. The Eagles are ready to fly higher than ever, and Tyreek Hill is the jet fuel they believe can take them there. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Philadelphia Eagles, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.